Hello and welcome to another edition of UFO Video Addicts. Let me give you a quick preview of what I got coming up in this video. The first is a video out of the UK Express. It shows a triangle UFO over New Jersey. Not too sure if it's one object or three separate objects. Let's see, I also have this video called the Falcon Lake Incident, Canada's most mysterious unsolved UFO case. This guy came so close to a UFO that it actually burned him, and yeah, there's not too many explanations for how he got this. I also have this video here, the Jessie Rostenberg video. This woman was calling in her kids, and she noticed a giant UFO over one of her trees. It tells a very compelling story. Also have this news story from 2008. It's a George Knapp news story, and it talks about a UFO crash around the Needles area, and then talks about all the strange men in black people that showed up to try and keep the people quiet or ask questions. Also have this story here. 3,600-year-old ancient giant hands were recently discovered in Egypt. But looking at these are supposed to be real. But look at the size of those fingers. Also have this article here from the Black Vault about Project Mockingbird, which was a wiretapping operation initiated by President John F. Kennedy to identify the source of government leaks by eavesdropping on the communication of journalists. Let's see, I also have this article here from the Daily Mail. 20 passengers feared dead as boat heading to Florida from the Bahamas goes missing. And the last article, here is this really interesting article about the golden ratio, or the Fibonacci sequence, and how it's in everything that nature creates, even in us. But a very interesting video. Let me go to the beginning here. Let's go full screen on this one. And check this out here. Yeah, I'm not too sure if this is one single object or three separate objects just flying in unison. Or it isn't even moving. Yeah, it's definitely moving. Well, that's it for that video. Not much else is going on in it, but it's definitely, just added to the rest of the piles of videos that are stacking up. This is a very interesting video about the Falcon Lake incident. Let me give you a quick listen here.
Back when, in 1967, he claims to have witnessed 2 UFOs in the woods of Manitoba, Canada at Falcon Lake. His story has become one of the most documented and heavily studied reports in UFO history. And what's more is that Stefan had more to back up his story than just recounting what he saw. He sustained an injury that still, to this day, cannot be explained away. What follows is what many consider to be the best evidence of UFOs of all time. This is the story of the Falcon Lake UFO.
But, of course, that's all I can play. I'll just, I just want to introduce you to these videos that I come across about, all of these UFO stories. And here's another interesting one. And this is from 1954.
The front garden to look for them coming across the fields, and to my amazement, there, suspended on the top of the roof of this old farm, was this object that I can only describe as a huge Mexican hat. It was that shape without the bubbles. It must have been 15 to 20 yards from where I stood.
Imagine that, 15 to 20 yards. And, if you look at the woman, the way she's telling the story, I I think when people are lying or they're making things up, there's just something to their body language that sometimes, you can just, you get a gut feeling. This woman doesn't look like she's lying.
So in circumference, it must have been about 60 feet. It was enormous. The people in the spacecraft were just looking out. I could see them from the waist to the top of their heads. They were very beautiful people. They had long golden hair, like the old kings used to wear, turned under. They had a very vivid...
I think that when she's talking about the page boy look, which is, again, to me, that's very interesting because, we have that style in our past.
Blue, like ski top affair. And they just looked at us. Their eyes, the expression in their eyes were full of compassion. And then, all of a sudden, I felt the tension leaving me, and I felt movement, and I turned round to touch my children, and when I looked again, it was gone. Now, we stood there, and I said to the boys, "Did you see what I seen?" "Yes, Mummy, yes." I said, "Well, where is it? It's gone." And we looked, and my second son said, "There it is, Mum." And we watched it in the sky, just like a cotton reel, circle round the farm 3 times. And then it just shot straight up.
Yeah, and what amazes me is that people are still doubting. I mean, this stuff has been going on since 1954 and much longer. We have evidence that our ancient ancestors were drawing saucers on cave walls. So I still don't understand why people, have to wait for a government official, a father figure, to tell you what seems to be pretty obvious to me. Let me go to this video here. This is a George Knapp report on 2008. But like I said, it's about a UFO crash. But what's more interesting is what happened after the crash.
Ops group known as the Night Stalkers at the airport during the same time frame. But it isn't the helicopters that have spooked Bob and other residents of the area. Rather, it's the X-Men.
There's been some strange people in town.
Needles radio station employee Paul Fick saw the mystery men and their blacked-out vehicles starting the morning after the UFO crash.
But there was a truck parked down here at the end of the street, pretty much pointed at the tower behind the station. And it was one of the four-wheel drive trucks with the shell on the back that had like the bumps, radar domes, things like that. And same thing Dave saw, one of the guys, the guys that were sitting there with the sunglasses on, very stiff looking.
Beefed up utility vehicle that had some very strange equipment on the back. It was black. The shape of the back of this utility vehicle was very stealth. It had just the angles.
Radio station owner Dave Hayes saw the vehicles and the men inside on his way to work the morning of the crash, and outside his station right after Bob on the river called in to report what he'd seen. Other listeners started reporting their own sightings of the X-Men.
The fact that there were people here the next day, almost like a team, it seemed like, that they were doing either some sort of cleanup.
I was there when the phone call came in from River Bob.
Political organizer Tony Fagan had a face-to-face with the mystery men. The day after Bob called the radio station, Fagan was grilled by a stranger who showed up at one of her political meetings.
This gentleman came over and shook hands. He said that his name was Phil, and that he understood that I was at the radio show when all of the calls were coming in about River Bob. And did I know what had hit the water? Did I know how big it was? Did I know what color it was?
I think things like this, it's probably the military trying to make sure that people didn't actually see any of the vehicles that they were testing. I think if it had been a actual alien crash, they would have most likely kept it more quiet, but they're trying to get an assessment of how much was revealed. Maybe, I'm guessing. Let me go on to this next article here. This is from History Radar. 3,600-year-old ancient giant hands were recently discovered in Egypt. Actually, this is from August 10th. But the following 16 giant hands were actually discovered underneath the Royal Hyksos compound, and as far as we know, they date all the way back to over 3,600 years ago. Discovered under a total of 4 different mounds here, many believe that they were the victims of the Egyptian soldiers of the past. Malfrek Beytek was the main archaeologist that made the discovery himself, as he was looking towards finding more relics at the compound after hearing rumors of there being more here. He was the chief of the Austrian Archaeological Institute and the Austrian Academy of Science teams that actually made the discovery possible. But look at the size of those fingers. Look at the thumb. He was originally meaning to excavate the ancient city of Avaris, but after hearing rumors from the locals of mounds around the area, they quickly changed their plan and focused on this instead. You know what's strange is this here doesn't look like it was dug up, though. This looks like it's the bottom of a riverbed or something. This doesn't look like it was under, like, or piles of dirt for thousands of years. This looks like it's been sitting and baking in the sun. This here looks more like an excavation. No, but you know what? If it was excavated, though, by professionals, they would, I would assume they would have it like lined out into little squares so they would, you know, so they're keeping track. This was their opinion, the harshest punishment they could conduct on their enemies, as they would leave them to die an excruciating, horrible death while also making sure that they cannot fight back. Yeah, I think that explanation there is a lot of assumptions made by people who don't know what the heck is going on. But anyways, I will leave a link to this page in the description. Let me go on to this article here from the Black Vault. This is about Project Mockingbird. Background: there have been a lot of rumors and allegations against what Mockingbird actually was, but it appears that quite possibly there were 2 projected names. One has been confirmed while the other remains elusive, if real at all. You know what the other one was? COINTELPRO. Project Mockingbird. Project Mockingbird was a wiretapping operation initiated by President John F. Kennedy to identify the source of government leaks by eavesdropping on the communication of journalists. This is the program mentioned in the CIA record below, and the Black Vault also added records from the Gerald Ford Presidential Library on the same. Operation Mockingbird was an alleged secret campaign by the United States Central Intelligence Agency to influence media. Begun in the 1950s, it was said to be initially organized by Cord Meyer and Alan W. Dulles. It was later led by Frank Wisner after Dulles became the head of the CIA. The organization recruited leading American journalists into a network to help present the CIA's views and funded some student and cultural organizations and magazines as fronts. As it developed, it also worked to influence foreign media and political campaigns, in addition to activities by other operating units of the CIA. You see, I mean, again, I'm sure some people are aware of this, but if you're not, the CIA and the FBI does not work in the interest of American citizens. They work in the interest of corporations, and they always have. And, you know, and now they don't even try to hide it anymore. I don't even watch MSNBC or CNN anymore because they actually have. I mean, the people from former CIA agents, and again, it says former CIA agents or former FBI agents, but there's nothing ever former about them. Yeah, if any of those CIA consultants on any of those corporate news shows are still getting a pension, this is what their job is. It's to make sure that the people watching, like I refused to watch those shows once I figured out what they were doing. But their job is to make sure that their narrative is broadcast. Again, I hope people are completely aware of this, but the mainstream or corporate news, their job is not to tell you the news. Their job is to make sure you do not know the truth. So anyways, let me just move on here. Here, this is the Mail Online. And, of course, this article here is just going to try and make you or give the impression that these people disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle because of the whole, Bermuda Triangle disappearance thing. But there could be a completely reasonable explanation, like storm, or, maybe the boat, maybe something happened to the boat, or maybe they didn't want to be found. They're in a boat. Maybe they purposely went someplace else. This last video here, doesn't have anything to do with aliens and UFOs, but it is very interesting because it talks about the golden ratio. Let me give you a quick listen here.
Ratio that's called the golden ratio, a 1 to 1.6 ratio. So this is what the golden ratio looks like as a rectangle, 1 to 1.6. And if we were to start making incremental golden ratio points within that, we can get an idea of what a spiral looks like when it expands outward at the same measured sequence. Now, this is all well and good, but what does that have to do with everyday life? Well, a lot, actually. And that's because when we look to nature, we see that so many things flourish when they go to the golden ratio design and when they follow this sequence. Growing and expanding to the rate of the golden ratio spiral allows the maximum amount of rain to be directed down to the roots.
Yeah, this is in everything in nature. Everything in nature, including us, humans, are designed using this ratio.
Many plants. And remarkably, when you study nature, you see the golden Fibonacci numbers like 3, 5, 8, 13, all of that again and again in the seed pattern spirals of plants, as well as in the number of petals. Next time you're bored and have a sunflower, try counting the number of seeds in the sunflower spiral, the golden ratio. Or maybe try something else with it.
Let me just jump here real quick. Check this out.
Scope of the golden ratio. From the alignment of the planets to the spirals of our Milky Way galaxy, as well as the spirals of other ratios in planets. Now let's take this closer to home. I want you to hold out your arm and look at the distance between your shoulder and your elbow, and then from your elbow to your fingertips. Notice how your elbow, from your shoulder to your elbow is 1, and then from your elbow to your fingertips is 1.6. Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't stop there. Now take that further. The distance from your fingertips to your wrist is 1, and from your wrist to your elbow is 1.6. Keep it going. From the furthest tip of your finger to the bottom of your fingers is 1, and from the bottom of your fingers to your wrist is 1.6. Now check out the spacing of your knuckles, 1 to 1.6.
Yeah, like this video is going to show. It's in everything. It's even in our faces, our teeth. Let me see. Let me go to this.
Golden ratio. The pupils of your...
Yeah, okay, even in our faces. Now, if you've ever looked at someone who's had plastic surgery and you go, something is not right about them, or right, you can just intuitively tell. It's because the golden ratio has been altered. That's what, yeah, plastic surgery doesn't take this into account. And yeah, so that's why when you look at some people's faces and it doesn't match this reference, then you know they've had plastic surgery.
I mean, you name it, your whole body is the symphony of the golden ratio. In fact, as you are listening to this video, the sound waves are passing through your ear in a perfect golden spiral. Scientists have discovered that the golden ratio pattern is necessary for the human brain, the neural system, our sense organs, and our lung system. The golden ratio sequence is even in the helix of our DNA, and it forms the very rhythm of our heartbeat pattern.
And another thing that's very interesting is if you look at all Greek architecture incorporated the golden ratio. And then if you look at Roman architecture, who, they copied the Greeks, they don't apply the golden ratio because the Romans were copying the Greeks. So they didn't completely understand. They tried, by copying what they saw, but they didn't completely understand that mathematical formula. But anyways, that's as much of this video as I can play here. I will leave a link in the description. Definitely check it out. That is going to be it for this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll have more things like this. Take care.